Hey, welcome back to our shop just outside Kennesaw here in North Georgia. Well, in today's video, we're going to take an old 1980s oak kitchen table and chairs that was absolutely destroyed, and we're going to redo it, but we're going to do it in a farmhouse style using lacquer-based products. Should be pretty interesting. We'll join the restoration as we begin to strip the tabletop. I hope you enjoy it. Now here's our tabletop. We're set up outside. We got plenty of ventilation. It's about 42 inches across, and we're going to strip the top and the apron. I'm using liquid methylene chloride stripper. I got gloves on. I put it on with a brush and take it off. You see me do it 1,000 times. So here we go. And as we've said before, the secret to using this stuff is just to keep it wet and let it do its job. It'll eat right through this finish. You could also sand this off if you have the patience, or you prefer not to use stripper. I've found that when the finish, this piece is probably from the 80s, and in my experience, the finish can be kind of tough, and you'll spend quite a little bit of time sanding this off. And I hope you can see that we're already starting to have the finish start to alligator and get compromised here. Okay, we've been about 5 minutes, and I'm just kind of keeping this this section wet here. And I'll take this plastic scraper, and you can see the finish is just coming right off. So that's how we do it. I got the rest of this table to take care of, and then I'm going to flip it over on its top, do the aprons, and I'll bring you back for the next step. Okay, top's all stripped off. It's been stripped, it's been scrubbed down with lacquer thinner, and then rinsed with water to neutralize the stripper. It's going to sit in the sun here for an hour or so, get good and dry before we do much more. I'll let this sit for about a half hour, I'll flip it over and let the bottom dry out, and then we'll sand it. So since we said sanding, I guess we might as well get started on those chairs. Okay, here's the seat of the chair. You can see the missing finish here, and as we go up around the hoop, we see that there's missing finish all over. So what I'm going to do is sand. I'm not trying to sand off every bit of finish. I'm just trying to smooth things out a little bit, get rid of the loose stuff. Remember, this is going to be painted, and as a result, it doesn't have to be perfect, and we're not going to try to make it perfect. I am using my random orbit sander with 120 on it for now. And I'll probably finish up with some 220, and I'll do these by hand. But again, I'm just looking to knock off any loose finish and smooth out the transition between the missing finish and the existing. So here we go. Well, that finish was very badly compromised. It took me about 20 minutes with the random orbit sander and some hand sanding to get it all knocked off. You know, whenever you do a paint job, lots of times paint jobs are done so you don't have to do the kind of tedious work that is required for refinishing. But paint's not going to stick to broken and flaking finish. The finish is going to come off and take the paint with it. And you really have to get the preparation work done if the paint job is going to be decent and stay around a while, whether you're shooting with latex or in this case with lacquer. Alright, one down, 3 more to go. This took about 20 minutes, so I will see you when all these chairs are sanded. Here's the chairs all done. Under this can of stain is the base. All that needed was a light sanding. The finish on that was pretty intact. And there's our table. We're getting ready to stain it. Well, here we go. We're going to stain this with an oil-based wiping stain. Color is walnut. You can probably see that my sponge brush just exploded on me. No big deal. I'm going to bring this inside. The sun is beating right square down on it, and I don't want it drying that fast. So next step, in there. Looks pretty good. We'll let that set up and get it sealed. The next step is to seal the chairs. Now, I'm sure I could get away with just starting to lay lacquer paint on them without any problem. But I feel better sealing them because there are some wood fibers that I want to knock off. And what the sealer will do is hold those wood fibers up. So when the sealer dries, I can come in there with some sandpaper and knock the last of those wood fibers down. So I'm going to seal the 4 chairs. And then if we've had enough time for the wipe-on stain to dry, I'll go ahead and seal the top of the table. And once those 2 things are done, we'll move on to finishing. So stick with us. Next step, sealing the chairs. Okay, it's 3:30. We got our first coat of sealer on the table. Then if you look at the chairs, they've been hand sanded. Most of the rough spots, not most of them, all the rough spots are gone. But basically what I did is I just took this sanding sponge, I'm not even sure what grit it is, it's probably 150 or so. Just over the entire chair, like that, and then I rub my hand over it, and if there's a part that felt rough, you go back and you do it some more. Same thing here, same thing all over the entire chair. Particularly the legs, you run your hands there, you find a spot that feels a little bit rough, take your sandpaper, knock that sealer coat down. Remember, when people shop, particularly women, particularly for furniture, the first thing they're going to do is touch it. And if it's rough and it feels like sandpaper, you've got big problems. Get this finished nice and smooth. Alright, these chairs all have to be wiped down. I'll use a rag dampened with mineral spirits, and they're ready for color. And this is what I'm going to shoot on the legs and the chairs, or the base and the chairs. This is the color. It's a very flat lacquer I had mixed up. Softer tan, it's 10 Sheen. I normally use 40 Sheen. So this is a very, very flat product. It sort of should mimic the look of a chalk paint or a milk paint when it goes on, but we'll see. Got the gun super loaded up. Alright, it's about 4:30. The chairs have been painted. They got their first coat of white lacquer paint. And you can see we've left that grain open, give it kind of an old look. And over there's the base. And that's going to be our top. But again, that's just got a seal coat on it. But for today, I guess we started a little around 11:30, something like that. And it's right now about 4:45. So, yeah, that'll give you an idea how long it took. We've got just a couple more hours work to do on this. We'll get back on it tomorrow. So good day. Thanks for sticking around with us. We'll see you when we come back and finish this up. Good morning. A couple of days have passed. I had some other things I had to take care of. And as you can imagine, the furniture fairy didn't come here and finish this project up for me, so we're going to do that this morning. So the next step here is to sand down this sealer coat on the tabletop. I usually use 320 gold for that. We'll get that sanded down, get our first coat of lacquer on this, and then we'll start to talk about what we can do to adjust the look of this, either to give it that farmhouse look or, God forbid, shabby chic or whatever, because this table is, as it was in oak, is completely out of style, and it would never ever ever sell. So we've painted the chairs, we've painted the base, we're going to refinish the top, we're doing that today, and then we'll do just a little bit of aging perhaps on the chairs and the base to make it look a little better. So I'm going to take this top outside, we're going to sand it and shoot a coat of lacquer on it, so stick with us. We're at the point now where we're going to do something with these chairs to give them a little aged look. You purists might want to turn away. I don't very often do this kind of work, but there's really no other option with this set as far as I'm concerned. So what I've done is I've mixed up some black glaze and thinned it pretty well with some naphtha, and got a little piece of sandpaper here. And what I'm going to do is just go along the edges where there would be subtle wear based upon age, and that's any place really where you would expect the body part to rub, you know, over and over and over again, edges that would get banged up, that kind of thing, and just take off a little bit of the lacquer paint, and use your imagination, use your artistic abilities, and try to make it look like these chairs weren't painted yesterday. This is a look that's popular right now, and this is what we're going to do to get rid of this set. I'm not a big fan of taking a lot of finish off and, you know, leaving big gaps of, you know, where it's been horribly sanded, but little bits like this I think will look good. Now you can distress with by using colored wax as well. I decided not to do that because I don't want to run the risk of somebody sitting on this chair in a white pair of pants and getting a dark colored rear end. And the other thing that I do, and I think it's real important, is any place that you sand off this finish, you need to seal it back up. So when I'm done distressing all these chairs, what I'm going to do is shoot them with a coat of clear lacquer, and that'll seal in the glaze and seal in the work. So let me get going on these, and I'll bring you back when I apply some glaze, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know how they're going to come out. We're gonna be as creative as we can, I suppose. So be right back. Well, here's what I came up with. And you can see we didn't take a ton of the finish off, but just enough that it gives it a worn look, and frankly from a distance gives it some depth. Let's compare it to this chair here, which really looks right now like it's painted almost kind of that 1980s pickled look because of the open grain that we left in the yoke. And this here, in my opinion, looks a little bit more like what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, I'm going to get all these chairs distressed, and then we'll come back and we will glaze. Okay, here's one of the legs of the base, and here's my glaze. It's very watered down with naphtha, and what I'm going to do is apply it. We want to leave it darker in the corners, and then lighter in the field, and darker in any of the recesses. But by putting this on and then wiping it off, you see the age effect we get as the black settles into any of the cracks or the grain. And then we're going to come over here, hopefully you can see this. Yeah. We'll come up here and again lay it into any of the seams where dirt and wax and goo would gather over the ears. And I'm just going to apply this like so. And then wipe it off. I'm going to try to leave a little bit extra in the grooves. Well, that's how the base came out. Hopefully you can see that it looks aged. The glaze settled into all the pores. It settled into the cracks. It settled into the places that we distressed. And hopefully that looks good to you. One thing that I want to stress is, in my opinion, when you do this glaze, make sure you stay with the grain in your strokes when you wipe it. Otherwise it looks ridiculous. It just doesn't look natural. But I think that looks pretty good. I've decided to put a light glaze coat of black on the top. It'll help pull the chairs in, I think. So I've got the glaze out, my rag, my brush. Let's do it. Okay, whenever I mix that glaze with a naphtha, it dries real quick, which is great, but you got to be careful about putting it on. That dry brush technique allows me to make sure that I get the glaze, any brush marks in the glaze, to go exactly with the grain. Otherwise it looks terrible. I think that that took a lot of the red out of that walnut, and these are nice and dark now, and they're going to pull in, but they're going to pull in real well with the black in the chairs and the black in the base. So we're going to let this glaze set up for a little while, and then I'm going to come outside and shoot everything with a coat of lacquer, and we'll be pretty much done. So stay with us. Okay, here's the base. There's the chairs. And that's what they look like with the distressing job we did on them. And they've been covered with a coat of lacquer. Same treatment for the base, and that's how that came out. And we've got 3 coats of lacquer on the top. So what I'm going to do is leave this just as it is for the rest of today. Let all this lacquer get hard, and tomorrow we'll put this all together, do the final beauty shots for you. Well, good morning. We gave the entire project 24 hours to dry. You know, I always am careful when I have a fresh lacquer surface when I flip it up on its top. If the lacquer hasn't hardened, you can get imprints on it from the blanket or whatever, so just be a little bit careful. What I've done is taken the base and flipped it up on the underside of the top, as you can see. Before I'd taken it apart, I'd marked it so I could get it back together. It just saves you the aggravation of trying to remember which side goes where. So I'm going to run the 6 screws back into the base, we'll flip the table back over, and we'll be done. So stick with me. That's a mark I put in the top, and right there is the mark I put in the side. That's how I track them. It's all mounted on, ready to go. Let's get her turned over. Show you the final results. Well, here she is, all done and set up. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, what we're trying to show is really an alternate, and in my opinion, probably the only really correct way of painting furniture that's going to get anywhere. This finish, although it does look like it's distressed and farmhouse, is absolutely a professional lacquer finish, and it's going to hold up to wear. If it gets wet, you're not going to have to worry about chalk paint melting. If somebody spills wine or grape juice on the table or the chairs, it's going to wipe right off. And we're pretty proud of the way that came out. Alright, well, from our shop just outside Kennesaw here in North Georgia. Best regards, thanks for watching, take good care. Hope you enjoyed this video, and remember, it's just wood, color, and some shiny stuff. We'll see you next project. Take care. Bye.